Durango is still an old school, mountain town and also a ranch community.
This is where the wintertime fun begins.
We operate on the Forest Service, which is thousands and thousands of acres. So pretty much everything you see out there is national forest. So that's like your land and my land kind of deal, right?
We have a mild weather week ahead, but we also have some snow in the forecast. I'm keeping track of it all so you're prepared for that morning commute.
Tomorrow morning on 9 News Morning.
And happening tomorrow after a long wait.
Tucked into the heart of Denver's Regis Berkeley neighborhood is a beautifully updated mid-century modern brick ranch that even offers some incredible rental income potential.
Mr. Bill Real Estate here, coming to you from my listing here at the cool Gotham building. Sounds cool like Batman, huh?
Full belly, full hearts. That's the mantra for tomorrow's Warrior Way.
Hey, stop right there.
Saturday was one of Elijah's favorite days.
What's this going on?
A rare day off between the 12-hour shifts he worked at the massage studio.
I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries that I am speaking.
Starting the day with his routine 5-mile run in the neighborhood, then opening his current read.
I'm just different. That's all.
Elijah's that family member to volunteer to make a store run for everyone when nobody else wants to go.
I'm so sorry. I have no gun.
Just grabbing a couple of iced teas before heading home and settling back into the song he was teaching himself on the violin.
I don't even kill flies. I don't eat meat.
In a just world, it would have been any other Saturday for Elijah McClain. In August 2019, Elijah died 3 days after Aurora police put him in a chokehold and paramedics injected him with ketamine.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
All I was trying to do was become better.
All I was trying to do was become better. When you know Elijah's upbringing, you understand, quite possibly, no truer words were ever spoken.
When we were living in the car, I would keep the smaller kids in the back.
Elijah's mother, Shanine, raised 6 kids on her own, many years living between cars, hotels, and shelters.
We went through so much homelessness and poverty that it kind of just all meshes in together. The things that I do remember is how I survived through it.
Survival made a bit more bearable by her sweet-natured second oldest child.
I caught him sometimes when I went to go pick him up, climbing the trees. He would walk on his hands, and there was times I'd be like, son, why are you doing that? He's like, oh, I just got to expel the energy. But Elijah was always nice and polite and very helpful.
Shanine moved Elijah and his siblings to Aurora in the 90s after their Park Hill home was shot up by gang members.
I moved to Aurora because I wanted my kids to have a better life, because I didn't want them to be surrounded by gangs, by violence, by things where they couldn't be their best self. And to still lose your son in a place that you moved to save his life is heartbreaking.
So when the ambulance gets here, we're going to go ahead and give him
All the dogs are okay. Yep, sounds good. Perfect.
Police took Shanine to the hospital to see Elijah the next morning.
Get into the room, he's hooked up to all these machines. There was blood, in his hair. He had head wraps, he had bandages all around his body. And the doctor said he didn't have any bodily injuries, but we were still trying to see why he had bandages around him if he didn't have any bodily injuries.
Shanine says by day 2, Elijah went from a victim to a suspect in the police narrative.
They talked about how they were going to find out what had happened. They knew something wasn't right. But then they come back talking about, well, your son is in the hospital because he tried fighting with the police officers. We tried to take him into custody, and he wouldn't listen to any of the commands that he was given by the police officers. And it went from them trying to prove that something wrong had happened to him to them all saying the same thing, that it was his fault he was in the hospital because he didn't listen and comply.
On day 3, Shanine started working on getting Elijah transferred to another medical facility who could better care for him. But Elijah would never leave his hospital room.
Literally, I was trying to save him, and I didn't get to.
Elijah was declared brain dead on Wednesday. The autopsy labeled his cause of death undetermined.
If I had had a better life, I could have gave a better life to Elijah.
It would take 2 months for Shanine to see the body camera video.
What was it like to hear him just be so measured and polite, knowing ultimately what his fate was going to be?
I was proud of him. Like, I was proud of him in life. And to be proud of him in his death, it was weird because he handled himself so beautifully. You know, he showed those police officers the amount of humanity they didn't give him.
He's got a mask on his face, acting kind of weird, nothing really criminal.
Did you ever think that maybe that was a dangerous choice that your son was making to wear that mask?
Not at all. He was a runner. Like, he would run out, he would run in the snow. He would run no matter what kind of weather it was, and the mask helped to keep the cold air from going in his nose.
Attorney General Phil Weiser opened a sweeping investigation in August 2020.
So a grand jury is considering charges against these officers. My question for you is, what do you hope comes out of it, and what do you expect? You know, I imagine those might be two different things.
I would love life in prison for all of them, but I expect them to be lenient.
In the wake of Elijah's death, Aurora police banned carotid holds, the maneuver used to restrain Elijah, which caused him to say those heartbreaking 3 words we have heard far too often.
Finally, there's some real justice going on, and it's not being swept under the rug. I totally believe that if better laws had been in place before Elijah was murdered, that he would still be here today.
Colorado police reform might seem timely, but for Elijah, it came far too late.
I think probably the most heartbreaking thing you said in this interview is that you, in any way, blame yourself for what happened to your son. But I hope that you give yourself credit for the amazing man that he was, that the whole world now sees. And you do know that was because of you, right?
I'm gonna try my hardest to not blame myself, but as his mom, I was his caretaker. I was supposed to keep him safe. And even though he was grown, that was still my job.
What do you think Elijah would want you to do now?
Well, let's see here. Don't eat meat. But I definitely think he wants me to be happy. And he knows that that's not possible, so as close as I can get.
Have you found meaning and purpose out of your son's life?
Yeah, he always had meaning. He always had purpose. Now other people just know it.
Just look at these stunning views of the Rocky Mountains.
Hi! Hey! So tell us where we are. Where are we biking?
Yeah, right now we are on Boreas Pass Road. This is an old railroad bed back from the mining days. And now it is kind of a modern recreation way. Of course, you can drive down Boreas Pass Road in the summer and fall, but it's really common to see road bikers, gravel bikers, hikers, dog walkers. It's just kind of a lovely place to be.
This isn't for the faint of heart. It's not. But it's worth it.
We're at 9,600 feet above sea level, which means that visitors can prepare in advance for their trip to Breckenridge by hydrating 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, this is where I stop. I just want to take a moment to take it all in from below and from up high. And this, you guys, is Breckenridge. It's an amazing experience. Wow! Did you see that? It's the thrill for me, you guys. It is the thrill for me.
So tonight we have the CSO playing, the Colorado Symphony Orchestra.
We all know how Beethoven's Fifth starts. It starts dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's this one, yeah.
My name is Katrina Miller. I'm in the video production industry. I do a lot of things within this field. I do concert videography, concert directing.
Ready 2? Dissolve to 2?
I am an employee of the City of Denver.
See, this is where we get our musical instrument education.
And the City of Denver is who is commissioned to film the concerts here at Red Rocks Amphitheater.
Cool.
During the shutdowns, I still was working a little bit, but those were very sporadic. When COVID hit in March, Red Rocks usually opens in April, And when I found out that Red Rocks wasn't going to open, I didn't know what I was going to do or what was going to happen with my life, because again, this is how I make my money in a real way that I find a sense of purpose.
Or can you give me something more wide, please?
Everything shut down, and it was a real juggle trying to run my business, Black Cat Video Productions, as well as taking care of my children at the same time.
Everything was going great and normal.
What ended up happening was I started dabbling into filmmaking.
Churches shut down and it just flipped like upside down.
I decided to focus on the African American community of Boulder and to talk about how the elders there were really isolated and taken away from their regular livelihood.
We keep saying everything's gonna be all right.
Well, the film that I made, Silence of Quarantine, ended up playing at the Boulder International Film Festival. You know, I never imagined in a million years that that would happen.
Dissolve to one.
The challenges of this industry certainly prepared me for 2020. You know, it really showed me how when life gives me lemons that I know how to make lemonade. Hey, the lemonade was the film and being able to play at TIFF. Just be authentic and stay focused.
So here's my pile I usually go to over here.
You could call Terry Reed.
Ooh, I love it.
A rock whisperer.
Oh, my lovely rocks.
On a mission to find the perfect rock.
I like this one, it's nice and smooth. So it's just easier to paint on it.
To paint a message that could save a life.
Okay, so there's today's haul.
A message that's come from heartbreak in her own life.
I have cried many tears in this room.
Terry paints the rocks she finds in memory of her 22-year-old son, Travis.
I kind of feel his presence here.
She paints in his room, just the way he left it in 2018.
I'm just trying to raise awareness and fulfill those promises I made to him.
A promise to raise awareness about organ donation after Travis took his own life.
He was getting ready to go to college when he passed, but knew I was going to transform his room into my craft room.
His death gave life to 3 people, and now Terry paints Donate Life on rocks with inspiring messages and leaves them in places across the country and world with instructions for the finder to become an organ donor.
I don't think there's a county or a town in Colorado that has not had a Donate Life rock placed in it, at least one.
Terry has left tens of thousands of rocks behind with the goal of 1 rock in every state.
One of my favorite places where rocks were put was in New York State, because that's where Travis was born.
All in hopes that someone out there will register to become an organ donor and help the 100,000 people on the waiting list.
We had to have a loss for someone else to live, but I know with everything in me that this is what Travis would have wanted upon his passing.